Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Miami Hurricanes Live right here at the Voice of College Football. Hopefully you joined us last night. That would be a Wednesday with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And of course, Thursday night is our night reserved for the Wholesome One. And still awaiting the Wholesome One, so I thought I would just jump on and get us started. Mario Cristobal and company at the ACC kickoff today. I did not see any of it. It's all on my DVR right now. So I will be checking it out at some point and probably giving some thought to what Mario Cristobal had to say, both at the podium and on the side sessions with reporters, as I did with Mike Norvell at Florida State. I know, boo, Mike Norvell at Florida State. You can check out that video on the FSU channel, and Dabo Sweeney on the Clemson channel. And I also had some choice words for ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. You can check that video out on the main channel. So I'm going to go through the live chat. And again, I really can't offer anything on what Mario Cristobal and players said today. I believe it was Will Mallory. It was Jafari Harvey and Tyler Van Dyke, correct? Yeah, those three at ACC kickoff on Thursday. Let's see what you folks have. Mr. HD's here. Good to see you. We're awaiting the Wholesome One. And we got Falconer X. Falconer X is basically bringing us our content tonight. It's basically because of Falconer X that we've got content available for all of you tonight. If you were on the last show on the main channel, or no. Yeah, we were on the main channel, of course. Then you know the Falconer X was very benevolent. Thank you for that. Yes, we had to finish up with some boring Bama talk. Well, I did hear, yeah, as Mobile Life 84BW, whatever all that is, brings up here about basically Mario said that the chain's dead. The chain's done. It's in the past. And I heard one statement out of him. Basically, that's kind of not what we're about now. The chain. So the chain's gone. The chain's in the past. Started with Mark Richt, correct? And then carried through with Manny Diaz. And I've got no opinion on the chain. I know that I believe most of you enjoyed it at the time, but it seems as though everybody's taken it pretty well as, okay, it had its time. That's what it is. But also to keep into consideration as what is being noted right down, it's a bad look. It's a bad look when you're getting your butts kicked, because it's about celebrating success. Well, yeah, you made one play, but you're down 30. So I don't know at what point that finally hit where, okay, this is the first time this has happened and this is awkward. We're getting our butts kicked, but we got a turnover. And we're supposed to celebrate that. I know that Tristan and others are concerned about Miami getting a fair shake in recruiting rankings from the major services. Mentioning here that Jonell, we talked about his recruitment yesterday with Cam, downgraded to a 4-star, and Olas gets stolen by Bama. Did we have any commitments come down today? Let's see here. I'm not just talking about Miami, but anybody that Miami was in the running for. Colorado, Virginia Tech. Nobody of note today, other than, of course, Texas picked up yesterday. That was on Wednesday. Texas picked up the 5th-ranked cornerback in the country, Malik Muhammad from Dallas. but nobody that Miami was in the running for here recently. Nice day in LA. Nice day here as well, here in the Buckeye State today. HR picking stuff. You're 1 for 2. 1 for 2. So I chugged the beer, but now I got to hold it now for another hour. Falconer X has switched out his profile picture. Look at that. I'm intrigued, but I'm also a bit disappointed because it was tough to top that profile picture, that avatar that you had working there. Tristan, if Miami were to leave the ACC, where do you think would fit best, and which team from the ACC would he bring with them? Of course, the obvious choice would be Florida State. Keep the rivalry together. Academically, the best fit is the Big Ten. In terms of geography, that's obvious. It's the SEC. We've had some great discussions on that. You got to go back, Tristan. We had Tony Altimore on a couple of weeks ago to break down the academics, the money, both academically and athletically, football, athletics, and also television ratings and standings. I'm going to be producing a lot of videos here coming up looking at television ratings and viewership. There's a lot of conjecture and assumptions made out there about what teams draw the biggest TV viewership. A lot of assumptions made out there. So we're going to clear that up. There are some sites out there where you can go through every network game, and it's just going to take a little addition skills out of me to and then, of course, you got to understand that certain years teams are down or teams are up. Michigan State's having a banner year versus a USC, of course, having a down year. You know, if you were going to take USC viewership and just take 2021 and say, well, USC doesn't draw many fans, that would obviously be taking the situation completely out of context. Right? Right. Willie, like to see Florida relent and play Miami. The Voice Florida host said they didn't want Miami because it would stop their recruiting. What lame school Florida has become, scared to play Miami. Well, Willie, a lot of Miami people would tell you, and other college football people, that Florida has been scared to play Miami for a long, long time. Chris, I'm glad you noticed that. You actually noticed it before I did. We have topped 8,000 subscribers here on the Miami channel. We're going to be celebrating 100,000 subscribers on all the channels. We got to pick a good time to actually celebrate that when there's not a lot going on, which is going to be, I guess, after the season at this point. But thank you for noticing. I would like to look that up and actually see that for myself. What do we have here? We've got the Miami channel at 8,000 and 8,000 and 21 subscribers. And our last video about Miami recruiting from last night is our top video out of the last 10. So thanks for checking that out. All right, so this is a big story here. Mario is getting to right here, Krista Goat. Looks like we are only landing 2 of the 5 commits over the next 2 days. So we're going to have to stay on top of that. I got to make sure I'm checking out the commits coming down constantly. That's going to be interesting to note there. So, who are we expecting those 2 out of 5 to be? Michael, do you think Coach Cristobal is bringing back the real swagger that Miami is used to, the swagger they carried in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s? I think it's a different swagger. In a sense, it's a different swagger. I think that swag back in the day was true swag that came from where those players came from the neighborhoods and the high schools that they played at, and they just brought it to Miami. And it was the culture of those players and their roots. And then when they were successful on the field, so the swag means nothing if you're not successful. You look like morons if you're sticking your chest out about going 5-7. But it was they just fed off of each other. The success breeding the arrogance and the swag, and then the swag and the arrogance probably to a certain extent intimidating opponents and them feeding off each other. I don't expect Mario Cristobal's teams to play with that. First of all, it's not going to be as noticeable because it's 2022 and it's not 1985 anymore. So we've seen that. It's like when Joe Namath wore white cleats in 1968, people went nuts. But if you do that in 2022, then nobody notices. And I would say the same thing here. Even though there are rules against it, there are still ways to get around and still being able to show your swag. But knowing, and I don't profess, first of all, I don't know the man, Mario Cristobal, nor have I really looked to see how his teams play. Although I watched a lot of Oregon football, I didn't see anything unusual out of Oregon from that standpoint. And the way he talks, though, first of all, by getting rid of this turnover chain, but also everything that he had to say before that, is that I just expect that he wants his teams to play with confidence, but not in any, although he played for those teams. He played for those teams, of course. All right. And I do believe we've got the wholesome one here. How's it going, man?
Mark, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well.
Awesome.
To see that you got us live, you got us rolling. Let's get into it. Let's talk
Sure.
about these Canes. Let's do it.
I figured I'd pick off a few questions, but I did not see anything today. I don't know if you had a chance to see anything from ACC kickoff. What I've produced videos on, you wouldn't be too happy with. So, but I've DVR'd everything from both the SEC and the ACC this week. So I produced 3 videos today, but they were in different colors on different channels. So I've yet to watch Mario yet to get a read on what I thought came out of his mouth. But I did have some choice words to say about the ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips, and what he said.
Hey, I'll tell you this much, Mark. Coach Cristobal seems to be the same guy. I mean, there's plenty of interviews you can hear. He says some of the same things, okay? He's understands some great media training, and I don't necessarily think it's coach talk or coach speak. I think it is who he is at his core. You know, he talks about how swag is not of the chopping out the mouth. It's not about tweeting. It's not about props. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about the work and the high level of preparation. And that being from elite coaches and elite players doing that, and then there's the elite product that you put out on the field. Then you come out with your chest and your brash and you talk a lot of trash because you know that you have been prepared to the highest level and that you are better than the man in front of you and you're going to beat him. And then once you get done and we're at a high enough score, the guy behind you is going to come on the field and do the exact same thing. And Miami is a ways away from that. And that's what Coach Cristobal's, he mainly just summed that up. is that swag is a byproduct of all of that. And back then we didn't have a name for it, but now people have associated this name, swag, and in so many other years it's been a bunch of falsehood. And it's just like Texas. When that one game versus Notre Dame, and that reporter goes, "And Texas is back," they proceeded to go 7-5 that year. But it is what it is. People thought the U is back, and we go out there 10-3, and it was pretty good. But with 3 straight losses to almost all your quality opponents, didn't have the best look. And you look at what happened in 18, 19, and we just kind of been going on a downward spiral from there. But the main thing Coach Cristobal was really talking about is getting to work and understanding that we have a lot of work to do as a program. And although he's confident in our players and confident in what we're going to bring to the table from a staff-wise and all those kind of things, at the end of the day, we have to go out there, and rent is due in September. So we're going to have to go out there and prove all of it. And, he's been open and honest about ducking and dodging all of the quotes. And, people ask him about the 0-1 Canes and how close are you to that? And how close are you to Ohio State and Georgia? They're trying to trap him in these kind of questions. And he's just like, no, we're far away from that. We got a lot of work to do before we're even in conversation with those kind of teams. And he's like, I'm not going to give you anything to make some tweet about me saying that the Miami coach thinks he's on par with blah, blah, blah. And that's good, because it's true. We are far away from that. And Mark, if we hop on here in January 1st, Miami is 11-1 and won the ACC, and we were last year's Michigan. That's different. That means we went out there on the football field and we proved it. But there's nothing that I can say sitting right here. There's nothing that he can say in Charlotte that's going to just warp us to being in that spot. You have to go out there, put the work in, and kick ass with a chance to get an opportunity to do so on the football field. It's just that simple.
And that's exactly where I was as soon as you said that, was even if he's thinking in his mind, I think we can get there this year. I think we can be that kind of team that's going to jump up. Why make a statement about it now? Nothing's been proven. You can't prove it right this second. You got to go out there and continue to work and, feel confident about your team, feel good about what you've got, but keep working and do it. And then say, there you go. We pulled it off, instead of making all these outlandish predictions to say, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. Well,
and the other thing I like about it is he's had some great media training, because he doesn't just give coach speak, and he's not just talking to his players through the media, and he's not just avoiding stupid answers. He's doing all of that simultaneously while still being himself and saying, yes, I'm confident in my players, and we're going to fight you, and we're going to grit, and all that kind of stuff. But he's also not like, well, we have a lot of work to do. We're going to play hard. The most important team on the schedule is Bethune-Cookman, because it's the first game. He didn't give any of that. And, they talked to him about his playing days and how exciting it was. And how does it feel to be back home and be at Miami and, drive past your old high school, all those kind of things. It's important. And I'm happy for him to be able to experience that, because he's been my guy, the one guy I wanted for a long, long time. And now he's here and he's our head coach. And I'm excited.
Fresh Northwest. Man, appreciate you being here, man. From
Thank
the
you.
scoop.
Appreciate it.
Hi to the best in the business. We appreciate it, Northwest. Thanks, man.
He's talking about you, Mark. I'm just a guy.
Oh, no.
I'm just a dude.
We don't have a show here without you.
Thank you.
We don't. Did you get a chance to hear anything out of Will Mallory, Tyler Van Dyke, Jafari Harvey?
I was looking for that. I didn't get a chance to get any of their points. I don't, because the way ESPN or crop outs or whatever, it takes a while to get that stuff. I was looking hard because I knew that this was going to come up, and I didn't get any of their little bits or whatever. But I think he chose them systematically. They're going to come out and spit the same thing that he did. You're not going to have someone that come out, like the linebackers of 2016 that came out and were like, we're the best in the country. Where else can you find 3 Power 5 linebackers as freshmen to come in? And They were doing a whole bunch of chirping about what they're gonna do and who they're gonna hit, and blah blah blah. He got guys that are hard workers and grinders that are gonna echo all the same sentiment that he's echoing. And tell you what, they look great. They look great. I mean, I'm on my own fitness journey and I get that, but those guys, man, they look great. And it's good to see, because every year you hear that bigger, faster, stronger. Guys look bigger. It's like a real big. I mean, Will Mallory neck almost popped out the suit. Like they look good, man. I'm happy for him, because gaining weight for him and Harvey was a tough one. Jafari Harvey was, lighting up behind for a little bit, and he started to put on some good weight last year, and now he looks really distributed, really, really well. Now we just got to get to the point where Will Mallory is kind of focused in on catching the football. He has almost everything else we need, Mark. And blocking, pretty solid blocker. Good hand, good to average hands. We need those hands to take a step up. And his confidence, man. I think he needs this team and this fan base and this staff to be confident in Will Mallory, because when he's confident and he's playing at a high level, he's one of the best tight ends in our conference, easily. Last year, he went on a nice little stretch where I think he put up about 350 yards in the last 4 games. Like, he just started to boom, 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 boom. And we were pretty happy to see kind of what was coming out of Will Mallory. So, and TVD, all we hear coming out about him is the leadership. The leadership, the leadership, the leadership. And not just like quiet, lead by example. We're talking in your face, out front, in the front of the pack, leadership, and calling the huddle, demanding everybody gets in the huddle. It looks right. It plays right. You drop a ball, he's the first one on your neck about it. No, you have to catch that ball. It's not okay. It doesn't just happen. You need to catch the football. And that kind of leadership has been missing at Miami, especially from the quarterback position, in a very, very, very long time. Stephen Morris was kind of a quieter person. Ja'Cory Harris was like a mute. He didn't say much at all. Brad Kaya was just like kind of soft-spoken. Malik Rozier was, and then we had, quarterback juggle for the next couple of years with Kosi and Jaron and Tate Martell, who I wouldn't kind of call any of them loud, in-your-face leaders. So now that we have, and De'Aaron King was that to a certain extent, but he wasn't like a scream at you, get in your face kind of person. So to see that or hear those kind of things about TVD as far as get in line kind of leader, not demeaning you by any means, but understanding that there's a standard, we're going to live up to it, and I expect everybody to do that. I'm really excited to hear that coming out of the quarterback position.
We've got people all over the place in the live chat concerning ACC expansion and all that realignment. We've got somebody in here. Well, we got our guy Leroy. He's looking at Miami going independent, and nobody wants to go independent these days. You're going to get left out. You don't want to get left out of it there, Leroy. I understand where you're going with that. And then somebody else was looking for the ACC to pick up. I think I've lost this comment, but man, they want like Stanford and Baylor and UNLV and all sorts of like a smorgasbord of teams to come this way. So I don't see that happening.
What? Let's do Notre Dame, West Virginia, Stanford, and Cal to the ACC?
Yeah, there. There's one.
Okay.
There's another one that throws in UNLV.
Yeah, that's the one I was saying. No, not UNLV. Notre Dame, West Virginia.
Yeah, I see that there. Yeah, there's another one where UNLV gets thrown in there too. All right.
I think the ACC is fine. Mark, is not a bad conference, and we just haven't won it. We haven't done our part, but it's a nice cosmocology. I mean, tell you what. Did you hear what that Pitt guy said earlier today? I said, man, this dude is crazy. he gotta be on something. And Narduzzi's kind of weird. But you said you're gonna join the Big Ten and win what?
So I didn't hear it out of his mouth. I saw everybody comment on it on Twitter. And yeah, I just did a call-in show, and that was my headliner right there. I had to go to town on that.
Mark, his exact quote was, "We beat the second best team out of the Big Ten, and if that's the second best team out of the Big Ten, we can win the Big Ten." That was his exact quote.
Well, first of all, they didn't beat them; they lost.
Oh well,
They
we
lost
almost
to
beat
Michigan State, and I don't know. He may want to check that Michigan State Ohio State score because it was 56-7, and
It wasn't a game, dude.
it was 49-0 at halftime. So I'm not saying that Ohio State would beat Michigan State like that every week, but they did just completely annihilate them. But anyway,
that was a little scary, Mark, because you remember Mel Tucker had just signed that like mega contract like 2 days before that, and everybody was like, "Thank God he did," because woo, man.
That's funny.
God.
That's funny. All right. Well, do we have anything going on that you've been looking at in regards to breaking down players, breaking down schemes?
Well, what we have, the big thing I've been looking at, Mark, is trying to figure out what kind of offense we're going to get out of Josh Gattis. I still don't have any of the answers as far as we won't know. And I think you won't really know until about halftime of Texas A&M. I think those first two games are going to keep it very vanilla and still be able to be vanilla and kind of dominate those two teams, especially Bethune-Cookman. Southern Miss is going to give us a fight. They're not an easy walkover team. They're in the same conference, I think, as App State. So they're not going to – and their Frank Gore's son plays on that team. He's a running back there. He's a big playmaker for them. So we're going to have to fight in that one. But on the grand scheme of things, I think we can keep it at cover 2, cover 3. Won't have to send too many exotic blitzes, play a little man on defense. Offensively, we probably could come out and just do regular pistols and regular passing concepts to attack them and to beat them and to kind of put them behind us. Now, here's the thing. You look at those 3 years, it was a different offense that was ran at Michigan over the last 3 seasons while he was there. I take good and bad from that, though, Mark, because what it says is he can put his offense to whatever your team is well at. Well, last year, the reason why they were running the ball so much is because they had the best offensive line in college football, and they had one of the best running back rooms. So they were able to just say, hey, we're going to line up, ball you off the ball, and when it's time to do play action, when it's time to do draws or quick screens, we have the front to do it. And then when it's time to go over top, you full of loading that box or too focused on the run, and we get over the top with you, and we can make big plays when opportunity presents itself. Now you look at the COVID year, it was a little, so I took the year before that in 2019. And it was run, but it was a little bit more leaning in the pass direction because he had a better quarterback than he did last year. Okay, so in that scheme, it was more of a little bit more of 11 personnel as opposed to like your 12 personnel. You got 2 tight ends plus your offensive line. You're on people off the ball. It was more of like 11, 1 tight end, 1 back. It was more of a little 4 wide, a little 3 to 1 side, that kind of thing. So what it showed me is if he's able to do those things and call plays in both areas, well, with Miami, we don't have an elite offensive line until proven otherwise. We do have a top 5 quarterback in a lot of people's viewpoints. Have a nice skill position, pretty solid wide receivers, some unproven, some still working to prove themselves, and a pretty solid tight end room. So it's going to be a mixture of those two there. I think it's going to start out with, can he run the football? Okay. Can this offensive line and tight end group move opponents off of the ball when need be? Because if you can do that, now you can string together some plays, know the ones we can and cannot execute against this particular front or against this particular look, which leans into us being able to, all right, well, if I can't call that, if I can't call a 26 stretch or off tackle power, then I have to be able to, okay, can we go straight at him? Okay, no, we can't go straight at him. Now we got to incorporate some stretches and tosses and things of that nature, get the ball outside. Okay, we still can't do that. Now go 4 wide. Can we attack their defensive backs? Can we do some tunnel screens? Can we get some curls and slants to loosen this thing up? Can our wide receivers make somebody miss in open space and get her going? Can we get the quarterback's confidence up? all that kind of stuff. So we have to be able, offensively, these are all things that's on your mind, and you kind of have to be able to live in the moment in play calling, while also know what you're trying to get to in the future. So we're doing all of this stuff to set up blah, blah, blah. And we're showing them this look so that when we get this look and that linebacker starts to creep because he knows that it's a dive, and we can do a quick now route while that tight end hits that seam right over where the linebacker was, because we did that to set it up. Or, hell, every time we flare that running back out the backfield, nobody's addressing it. Okay, cool. Come out in that same formation. We might even roll over to the right a little bit and then hit a wheel route down the seat because nobody went with the back. Being able to do those things, knowing where you are, being where your feet are, but also setting it up for second half plays and big plays when need be. And these are things that Coach Josh Gaddis has done in the past, has shown the ability to do with good and so-so quarterback play. I'm pretty excited to see what he's going to bring to the table with the top 5 quarterback in college football.
Yeah, so of course Bethune-Cookman, then Southern Miss, but then a trip to Texas A&M, and it's going to be serious. Then it's going to be grown man football, and that's that Texas A&M defense. They lost quite a bit, but they've recruited so well. They're going to have a top 10 or 12 defense in the country. They're going to be really strong on that side of the ball. It's going to be fascinating to see TVD and company go at that and that offensive line. It's going to be fascinating at the line of scrimmage against Texas A&M.
At least that's what I'm hoping for, because what you're going to have there is the coaching ability and the technical side. Because I don't necessarily know if we have the talent just yet on that front, Mark. But them knowing what we can't do, knowing that we're going up against a bigger, longer front, or if they're more of a speedy front, they're going to be able to break that down. Can we kick slide against them? Do we have to quick set against them? Do we want to mesh our pass protection? Can we handle big on big? Do we need a running back to come up and help a chip on a particular player? Do we need to live with Will Mallory? Does it help if he's at tight end or if he's at H-back to help us in the pass protection? Do we need to slide the pass protection? Can we pull and then slide this way and have this guard now block the play side DN? All those kinds of things are things this offensive line will know. And this coach and this coaching staff will be able to present, not do what I just did and talk about it, not just draw it up, but be able to teach it and be able to show them how to do it. Show them what it's supposed to look like. Show them hey, this is how it's supposed to look. This is what we're going to get. They have all these different fronts and they roll like 8 or 9 deep, have an extensive breakdown of this player and that player and this player and that player. His go-to move is speed to power. His go-to move is a double swipe. His go-to move is a push-pull-swim. He's going to go to that on third downs. All of these things is what us coaches do when we're sitting down and we're breaking pass protection and pass rush and pass set down. All these things are very, very important, okay? And the upper echelon of coaching is going to be on that offensive line. They're going to have extensive, great level of coaching. Now, the question is, can the players meet the moment? Can they meet the moment and play? Okay? Because once you get out there and you jog out on that football field, it's going to be you and the man in front of you. He's been coached up well. I've been coached up well. Let's see what happens. If he just happens to be better than me, now we have to try to find ways to help me out. And that's what, in-game coaching is about. Figuring out ways to help our players out once we get them out there. So I'm excited about it, and I'm hoping that our front is ready, because that game in particular, I'm going to even say this, Mark, just bluntly. If we want to win that game, we can't go in and go into a lack of better term, a stick swinging contest. We would lose that. Go out there, establish the run, of course. I'm not saying we need to be Wazoo under Mike Leach or Mississippi State. I'm not saying that. But don't go in there trying to blow these people off the ball, and we can't do that just yet. It's week 3 under a brand new regime. Lean onto your proven player and your quarterback. Okay, now, again, if we get out there and we pop out an 8-yard run on the first play, all right now, But if we're out there and it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8, okay, punt. Go to the next drive. First and 10. So now 2nd and 15 because they just had a TFL. We just keep trying to establish the run and it's not working. You need to be able to adjust out of that. And now, here's the tricky part. They know you can't run the ball. So what are they going to do? They're going to go out there in the 3-man fronts. They're going to go out there in the dimes and the nickels. And now with your plan B is the passing game. And if you can't go toe-to-toe with that, then now you have to be able, when they come out into that, now let's try to run against their dime fronts. Let's try to run against their nickel fronts. Let's see what we can do when the box is lightened up, because now we're 4 wide and they just got 3 down linemen and 2 inside linebackers. What can we do? Can our line block that? Can we triple team the nose to the backer? Can we, all that kind of stuff. So again, I can get real X's and O's, but I'm excited about that game because it is a measuring stick to see what's going to happen. But don't go in there trying to play, I'm a bigger man than you. Yeah. Dude, we're not going to win that game. They're an established program, especially on the defensive line. They have a really good defensive line culture there and a very deep and talented defensive line room. Don't go in there feeding into their hands. Establish what you can in the run, but lean onto your proven player and your quarterback. And I think Miami will have a good chance coming out of there with a W, or at least a respectable game that you can look back on. And when you go live later on that night or the next day, you can say, hey, Miami went in there and fought their asses off, but Texas A&M is a little bit more established and be better. We're going to look at this Miami team in 2 weeks when they play North Carolina and judge them then. We're going to look at this Miami team a month from then when they play Clemson, and we're going to judge them off of those 3 major games. But after that game, I respect what Coach Cristobal is bringing to the table.
Yeah, it's so strange when you look at what happened in 21 because, you almost have to evaluate 2 different teams because once TBD got established and got rolling, it's just a different offense and he was a different deal. Alabama's almost a different deal in trying to evaluate what happened. That game got out of hand. But everybody else, if you're looking at the ACC, this team was good enough to beat what are probably the 2 best teams on the schedule in the ACC. They beat NC State and they beat Pitt. And then they figure out how to lose 5 of their games. Well, of course, Alabama, Michigan State turned out to be really, really good, better than what we knew at that point. But lose 3 other games in the ACC to whoever, Virginia and FSU, and who was the other one? North Carolina, of course. Yeah. So that's the way this past season, at least they didn't get manhandled by any of those teams. Now, if you go back, everything since 2017, anytime they've played anybody really good, they got, kicked in the teeth. Clemson, North Carolina, etc. It's really been since that back-to-back against Virginia Tech and Notre Dame in 17 that they played like serious competition and they played well.
Yeah, because I think the NC State and Pitt, weren't they like a week away from each other too? They were in close proximity at least.
Yeah.
We all went in with just like, hey, I hope the team fights. But I was like, whoa, all right, cool. And the North Carolina game, that kind of hurt. I can't lie to you. That one hurt mainly because we fought back in that game. And when the Miami Hurricanes come out, the thing that was really hurtful under the last regime was that they would come out and like drag their feet, and then they eventually catch a stride, and then they want to go. And sometimes it wasn't enough time to do so. But we'll see. We'll see what they're going to bring to the table. It's going to be off of grit and determination, not off of trash talk. I tell you that much.
What was kind of strange about the Virginia game is that Virginia has one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they've got weapons on offense. They scored a zillion points, but they also gave up a zillion points, and they really didn't play that kind of game against Virginia. You would have thought that, the defense played really well in containing that passing offense, a guy that threw for like 4,500 yards, Brennan Armstrong, but the offense should have been much better. Shoot, BYU scored 66 points against Virginia. Like North Carolina scored in the 50s again. Everybody dismantled that defense except Miami.
Yeah, and I don't like to spend too much time on the past, but it's a fact, and it's the truth. And I still say to this day, I say 10-2. I've said that multiple times, but my 10-2 doesn't mean we lose to A&M and Clemson. My 10-2 is that we split one of those two. For me, the more important one would be Clemson.
Sure.
Losing to A&M, I understand, but getting that Clemson off our backs, especially an in-conference team, Mark, for all we know, us beating them could kick them out the championship. Who knows? But that would be monumental, and it's a late season win. Okay, those early season wins, it's like, heck, you look at the Oregon team, our head coach now, they went into the horseshoe and beat Ohio State and kind of manhandled them until Ohio State turned it into 7-7. And then Oregon was like, all right, we can't play this kind of game. And then they just kind of melted the clock out at the end. But I don't know, if you give Ohio State another drive, they were clicking. That quarterback can play. Boy, he can play, man. I like watching them get after it on the offensive side of the ball, and their pass rush on the defensive side of the ball. Their defensive line coach is somebody I look up to. Larry Johnson, great man. But when it comes to Miami and that early season win of A&M, and I don't know if you've asked me this, but I've answered this question a lot on my channel. Which game would you much rather win? And I keep saying Clemson, Clemson, Clemson. I understand people want to see Texas A&M. I get it. But it would be way worse to go on like a 10-game win streak and then get to the biggest blocker from us becoming elite and then lose that game again, and then might have to see them again in 2 weeks and see what happens, as opposed to lose an early game to an established program. Hopefully it's respectable. Then go on a 9-game win streak after that and line up with Clemson, beat them in Death Valley for the first time since Randy Shannon was our head coach in 2010, and then see what happens in a championship game after that. Because I believe we play like Duke or something right after them, so it's kind of a win right after them, but they're going to be a real big test.
So on the other side of the ball for Texas A&M, interesting note today, their best playmaker, so Isaiah Spiller, great player, moves on to the NFL. Anaya Smith, their senior wide receiver, he was supposed to appear at SEC Media Days. He was arrested on Wednesday, charges of driving while intoxicated, unlawful carrying of a weapon, marijuana possession, etc. So we'll see what happens to him. He may serve some limited suspension and may be ready to roll for week 3 against Miami, or this may affect Texas A&M even into the Miami game. Again, Anaya Smith, this he's a serious big time player. Just going to pull up his numbers. Yeah, he caught 47 balls last year, 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he can play. They move him all over the place and threaten the defense and create mismatches with him. Falcon Rex, appreciate you being here. Remember 2000 when Washington beat Miami 34-29. He had Dorsey's first year. Then the next year, 01 Miami, Dorsey beat Washington 65-7. I see this year Miami and TVD doing a similar payback against Florida State.
I will say there was a quote. There was a quote that somebody sent to me because we're live with TVD and saying that was if we do not lose, if 4th and 14 does not happen, we may not have Coach Cristobal as our head coach right now. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. Good for them. I mean, heck, even Michigan beats Ohio State once every 15 years. So, hey, we get hopefully we can get that thing rolling again. And again, Got to
Yeah,
play with that system.
we'll never know, but it's not too much of a stretch to think that 8-4 keeps Manny Diaz around.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the win, that extra win, not just being an extra win against whoever, Georgia Tech, it's against your rival. So
arguably your biggest rival. So
sure.
Cheers to 4th and 14. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate you. Looking out for your boy, man. Appreciate you. It's the nicest thing I ever say about them.
BGPO Football Funk, appreciate the contribution, sir. I hate unfair people. I don't know
what does that mean.
That's our guy DeAndre. He's a Clemson fan. I don't know what he's referring to there. Maybe DeAndre, I'll be looking for. You don't have to send us another super chat, but if you've got some kind of explanation on that, we will be happy to address it. So don't know what you're talking about there.
Yes, and next week is the last week of July. So Mark, we will do. Do you want to do like offense and defense? Or do you want to do individual videos? How you want to do the player by player?
Oh, that's a great question.
Position by position breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I can get real long-winded. I talk about one player for an hour if you let me.
Well, I know you can, and I don't mind it. Let's see. We've got and because we're going to want to save time for as things come out about fall camp, of course, to analyze what's going on there. Cam goes more the recruiting side, but certainly you check out those tapes and have a lot to offer there when you get a chance to see those guys that commit. So there's about 10,
you don't have to answer now.
There's about 10 positions.
Right.
So why don't we tackle about 3 per week? Go like, I don't know, quarterback, running back, wide receiver the first week, and then tight end and offensive line and D line the next week. And then we could probably get there in 3 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We might be right lined up for the perfect timing too. It might be like right before Cookman on September 4th. So 10, something like that, first week.
You've addressed the turnover chain in the past and Mario's decision there. Is there anything else since it's out there for everyone in the national media and it made headlines and Mario addressed it again? And
I really don't have much else to add to it. I will say this again, for those of you who haven't seen it, I've been, very adamant about it and saying like, hey, it's our culture and I get it. I appreciate it. I love it, and whether we were winning or losing, I felt like if we're going to do it no matter what, because then, you can take pride in it. Like I said, like Virginia Tech, they're hard, they're lunch pail. You get a turnover, you get the lunch pail. At Alabama, you have the turnover belt that they give you. So WWF World Championship belt with the big A in the middle of it. Even to the point where now Alabama has a chain that they give recruits on visits that says Alabama boys on it. It felt good to be able to be innovative in something else, whether it's the 4 is up and be in the fourth quarter, whether it's running out of the smoke, which everyone does now, even like high school teams run out of the smoke now. So it doesn't have the same effect that it used to. Even something as simple as running out of the helmet. That was the other thing that people forget. It used to be the big white helmet that you run out of. And on the side, as you're running out, you had the alumni who were lined up. Not just the cheerleaders. The cheerleaders were at the end. You had all the alumni next to you, boosters and all that stuff as you're running out of this smoke. And they would let it all build up. And it's like this big wellowing smoke, Undertaker style. And then you take off and the crowd goes nuts and boom, you take off and run. It hasn't been like that in a while. The last person that tried to recreate that was Randy Shannon. It just didn't have the same effect because he was there when we went from the Orange Bowl to where we are now at Joe Robbie Stadium. Joe Robbie is what the locals call it. It's Hard Rock to everyone else, but we call it Joe Robbie Stadium. And that's something we take pride in there. So a lot of people say if we were to ever keep any tradition, it's running out the smoke. And I agree. Coach Cristobal was able to say, at the end of the day, we moved on, and that's not a part of his program and what him and this team want to be viewed by or remembered by, and they have put that completely behind them. It's his program. Okay, I'm just media. Most of us are just fans when it comes to the program. We're here to support. So if that's what he would like to do, and no longer wants representing the University of Miami's football program, I'm with you, dude. Let's go. Let's go. And I know you've been kind of iffy about it too. You know, you never liked it anyway. So now that it's gone, I guess it's all good.
Well, I will say, and you know this, that I thought it was a really good show when you explained the origin, the history, the culture, and all that. And I always stated it wasn't for me. Like it wasn't for me, but I wasn't judging it to say, oh, get rid of this, because I don't pretend to be able to relate to 20-year-olds. So just because a 50-year-old guy doesn't like it doesn't mean, you know, I should dictate to 20-year-olds what they get into. Of course not, you know. And there was nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, like morally horrible about it or anything.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, it's a fun thing. I just, from day one, it went through my mind, what happens when they get a turnover when they're down by 4 touchdowns? What do you do with that? That was just the first thing I brought up on here. You know, what does that look like? Because you're kind of putting two things together, like, okay, we have this tradition and this thing that we celebrate, but we're down by 4 touchdowns. Like, you know, even that puts the players in an awkward place where I'm sure some of them could just enjoy the moment, but others would be kind of like, you know, I'm not really into this because we're getting our butts kicked. So, all right, Falconer X, what do you got for us this time? Falconer X, you know, basically the show is brought to you by Falconer X tonight. So thank you, sir. Everybody copies the smoke, not actually smoke, but clouds of a hurricane.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. I love it. It's an experience like none other, man. To be there, especially when our team is doing well and the crowd is energetic. I remember being at the Orange Bowl. I came from here. I was like, I gotta see, you know, McCain's rolling, man. I gotta go down and see him. So I put some money away, got tickets to the Orange Bowl, and got there. Yeah, it didn't end out well. It wasn't a good product, but man, the atmosphere and Hard Rock that day, it's nothing compared to what was happening in Notre Dame. You just hear stories. It feels like if you happen to be there, you just always will relive that moment. But I happened to be at the Florida game in 2013, but again, that was pretty good. But from what I hear, like if you were close to the field and like the crowd is yelling at you, it kind of felt like, you know, ear piercing to be at that Notre Dame game. That'll always be in the allure of Miami Hurricanes history. Trajan Bandy, the freshman, will take it all the way. You know, that's that'll always be in our hearts that there. But again, he had the turnover chain after that. But as soon as the next year, the chain started to get a little dwindle. And by 2019, it was about 2020, it was 21, and it was just gradual bump. There was this statistical chart. It was 31 in 2017, 27 in 2018, 20 in 2019, and then down to 15 and 20 in 2020, and then by 2021 we had only had 11 turnovers. It was losing its lusters.
Hey, Tim, thanks for being here, man. Our guy Tim, I'm still holding out hope for that Miami LA home and home.
Oh yeah, baby. Mark, you know that I've been saying that for years, man. You know that's
Sure.
my one home and home I would love to see. But in all actuality, I want to see it when both teams are doing well. I wouldn't want to see it when it's like 7-5 Miami, 6-6
Yeah.
USC. You know, battle of the has-beens. I don't want
Yeah.
to see that. You know, because
Things keep going this. Things keep going this way, it might be a Big Ten conference game.
I hope so. I hope so, man. I hope so.
That'd
Or
be
play a
some-
first round playoff or Big Ten championship game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. What, you got something else to do after this, Mark?
I don't.
Oh, okay, we can keep going then. Good.
I just want to eat sometime, but that's I'm just anxious to get something to eat. But no, I want to let the conversation breathe if we've got more going. I did want to ask you about because of the three players that that were invited and selected by the coach, and we've talked about this a number of times in past seasons, that's kind of a statement made by the coach to say these are three of our best players, but it's not just about that. We're looking at leadership. We're looking at these guys represent the university, all those things put together. So with Harvey in particular, because I got a good grasp on who TVD is. Of course, he's the quarterback everybody, talks about and focuses on the quarterback position. And since Will Mallory's been in the offense and been there for quite a long time, just what you expect out of Jafari Harvey this year, and what would be a good showing for him this year?
One thing about Jafari Harvey is he's been one of my favorite recruits since he got here in 2019 as a freshman. I've never lost faith in him, but it's just under the last couple of regimes, what he was required or asked to do, I didn't think he could do. Okay. Being an edge rusher, basically being like the replacement for John Garvin, who is an NFL edge rusher to this day with the Green Bay Packers. And it even started the second half of last year due to injuries. So he's doing well for us. So I think Jafari Harvey had always been more of a set the edge kind of guy. And although he's like 6'3 and a half, 6'4, he doesn't have that elite get off speed to be able to be crazy and have all these high sack totals. Like, he's not going to tally up 15 and a half sacks. He's just not that kind of player. Now, I'm not saying he can't, and maybe one day he could show us that, but on the film we've seen, he's more of an anchor, set your offensive tackle up, be able to take on a double team from the tight end and the tackle and split the double team, and run support. He's very, very, very good in run support and can have some help in the pass rush. I mean, you look at his stats last year, 12 solo tackles and 2.5 sacks. That's not a lot. And 1 pick six against North Carolina. And again, that's not him affecting the passer at an elite level. But what he can do is be more of what Zach McCloud was for us last year. And a leader, be high in the TFL market, and have a good football IQ, and really funnel plays back inside instead of them running off tackle to the right. They can't go there. Why? Because 12 is right there. And he's separated from the offensive tackle, and he can make plays. The other thing, he's been battling shoulder and labrum issues for almost his whole time at Miami. So I'm hoping that it's pretty healthy and can really go. Okay, we need 1 or 2 guys, whether it be a linebacker, whether it be an edge rusher, whether it be a D tackle, to show up and get after the quarterback. We need to be able to do it in waves if we can, but if we can get 1 guy to stand out, we're going to need that. And on par with what I just said. Yeah, there you go. We need 1 pass rusher to have a breakout season. And I think Jafari Harvey can definitely be that. Again, based on what he's shown us, he may not be that pass rusher, but someone that can wreak havoc, someone that can attack the running backs and attack offensive tackles and get off blocks and be stern. I can see that. And I'm hoping that for him because he's a workaholic, Mark. High effort young man, and Jafari Harvey. He's also been like an academic guy, one of the highest GPAs on the team. So these are the kind of guys you root for. Hey, he's a try-hard guy. He's high in the classroom. He gives super high effort. He always looks good physique-wise. You want to see them go out there and fill the stat sheet and get that done.
Because when you look at it, there's Greg Russo obviously put up huge numbers. To a lesser degree, of course, Quincy Roche transferred in, and he's off to the NFL. Jalen Phillips was a physical freak. Unfortunately, only had him for 1 year, but for quite a few years now, there's been somebody that has a reputation or has put up the numbers to show, this is where the pass rush is coming from. And this season, it's like, okay, there's a lot of candidates, but who's going to be that guy, or hopefully multiple guys?
Absolutely. Like I said, you could look at it the Roche and Jalen Phillips way. We got two guys who are, I think they both were at 7.5 or 8 each, and they're getting after the quarterback and both going off to be, NFLers. Or do you want the Gregory Rousseau way where you got one guy who's wreaking havoc as a TFL guy and a sack guy? I would prefer the former, not the latter. I prefer it being split between 2 or 3 guys who are doing really good. You're spreading that wealth amongst the team. You're getting other guys to play at a high level also. That's great. But B, what it also does is now offensively, what do? You can't just double team one guy. You can't just triple team one guy. You have to be able to try to block 3 or 4 people who can all wreak havoc, and either one of them could take off and have a really good game. And that's what you really want to look for. Is you want to be able to look and see, dang man, Leonard Taylor, 5.5 sacks on the season. Not bad. Jafari Harvey, 8.5 sacks on the season. Ooh, great season for that guy. Alexis Stein, 3.5 sacks, transferred from USC. Not bad at defensive tackle. That's getting after it. Okay. Chance Williams, 9 sacks, meaning we got a pass rusher. He's elite. He can get off the ball. He's making plays. Good job. That's what 22.5 sacks I just read off to you. But between 4 players. So that's what you want to be able to do, is get multiple people, not have 22 sacks and there's one guy with 15 and you sprinkle 1 or 2 each for the rest of the other people. Now, if that happens, shout out to that one player. He's kicking butt. But from a team perspective, you want to be able to have more than one guy wreaking havoc, and it, like I said, it makes it really hard on offensive coordinators when you got to go.
Exactly.
The whole front could kick butt if we, and that's kudos to Manny and the 2017 team. You had Norton, you had McIntosh, you had Chad Thomas, you had Joe Jackson. Either one of them, and then their backups were pretty solid too. You had Trent Harris, who's an NFL starter right now. You had John Garvin, who's an NFL starter right now. So we were about 6-7 deep on a defensive front that can get after you if you can't block them. And that is way better for team wise.
So there's a number of reasons there I'm thinking of that you would rather have the sacks by committee rather than the one superstar. And you pointed out the first one, offensive scheming against one guy versus, okay, wow, they got 3 or 4 guys that they rotate in and we don't know where it's coming from. And they're all difficult to deal with. And we're going to have to pick our poison, but we don't really want to because we're going to cut somebody loose. So that's number one. Number 2 is obviously if that dude gets hurt, then nobody else is getting at the quarterback. Number 3 would be that how many guys stick around after racking up 15 or 16 sacks in major college football? So he's gone.
Right.
And then
heck, he may not even play in your bowl game. He may not even play in your ACC championship game because he's resting for the NFL draft. So and those things happen.
Yeah. Pizza No Cheese. Thank you so much for the contribution. Appreciate that. Love from the Clemson fan. Looking forward to see all this season. I think it will be a closer game versus other seasons.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's a valid point. And again, until we prove it, like I've said this multiple times, until we prove it, it's just hearsay. But one thing you do know about a Mario Cristobal coach team, it's not the bigger games that you worry about. It's the at Virginia at noon. It's the, heck, I know this sounds crazy, but it's the Duke late season at 6 p.m. and no one's watching. And you don't know if his team is up to go out there and get it done. Again, that's if you're taking off of what he did at Oregon. Because when they got on the same field as Ohio State, they get on the same field as Utah, excluding this last season, it was different. But before that, those are really tough, grimy games, and Oregon came out on top. You get on the same field as Wisconsin, great, tough game. Oregon comes out on top. Ohio State. Majority of his teams were USC in his second Pac-12 championship win when they weren't even supposed to be there, but because of COVID, and Washington goes, but then his team shows up and they beat the favorite. And, USC was like 6-1, and they beat them. So, like I said,
I think they were 6-0 actually.
Right, that was their only loss. Might be right.
5-0. Yeah. My guy, New King God here, has been after me since last night. So, see, Mark, how you can go a whole show on the Miami Live without talking down. I guess he's saying talking down FSU. All I ask is that same energy on your Florida State Live show when it comes to Miami. So this is what I said, Wholesome One. You tell me. You tell me if I did anything wrong here.
Oh no, Mark.
The only thing I said was, okay, Florida State was obviously on a good roll up until 2017. 2017, they played Bama week 1. I think you remember the game. DeAndre Francois got hammered and taken off the field, and that was it for Florida State, and they lost to Bama, and they didn't play well.
26-6 in Atlanta. I remember.
I'm sorry, what?
26-6 in Atlanta.
I think it was 24-7, but whatever.
Something like that,
yeah. So anyway, game was 17-7, like a few minutes into the fourth quarter. Anyway, I just made the comment that Florida State team played a closer game against Alabama than Miami did last year. That's all I said. And New King God has been all over me ever since that.
I think what you said is true. That's a flat out.
That's all I said.
But I get where he's coming from. Was there a need to bring us up? Was somebody talking about us, or you just threw that out?
No, somebody's always talking about Miami on our Florida State show.
I wouldn't know, Mark. I've never watched it.
It's all the time. It's every week. Yes. That's either the chat or I've got one contributor in particular, Florida State guy, who loves talking about Miami.
I think I know who it is. The sad part is he's actually from Miami, but he went to school up in Tallahassee. He just loves to throw dirt on our U, and that's okay. That's fine. God bless him.
I just enjoy it from both sides. I'm just a host, and I just build my channels and create content and let you guys. And I just try to be fair. That's all I try to do. Be fair.
Hey, they got us this year, but thank you. Thank you. We'll see them soon, and when we see them, we'll see what happens.
So New King God should also recognize that another comment I made was because there was a comment made in the chat about, how do you compare Florida State, Miami? Now, my deal, Wholesome One. I clear out of the way and let you and Cam take on the expertise with Miami, and I only chime in with my opinion when I feel it's valid and I know what I'm talking about. I made the comment that Miami is the best team until proven otherwise. I believe that Miami is the best football team out of those 3 in Florida right now, and I think they're roughly a top 15 to 18 team in the country, something in that range, and that Florida's better than Florida State. They're now, because of the difficulty of their schedule, it may not. There's a difference sometimes between what you're ranked versus how good you really are. If you're playing in the SEC, you're playing a brutal schedule. You might be 7-5, but you might be a lot better than that. You might be one of the top 25 teams in the country, but you just happen to play that kind. And I think Florida's a roughly top 25 team in the country, and I think Florida State's more in the 40 to 50 range. And I stated that last night.
Mhm.
And until I see differently, that's what I'm thinking about those three teams.
Absolutely. I tell you this much. What I'm in, I usually don't use this word, but what gives me cause to pause is who they will replace Norvell with, and who Florida will replace Group of Five George with, or Billy, or whatever the heck his name is.
Yeah,
Those
well,
guys.
you haven't given him a chance yet. He hasn't even coached a game.
Mark, have you seen him? Like, have you seen his teams before?
Have I seen his team?
His teams.
Oh, Louisiana.
Mhm.
I've seen them play a little bit. Yeah.
That job will be open in 3 years.
Okay. I
I
haven't
don't.
watched a lot of Group of Five. I love the Group of Five. I just can't watch much because I'm watching the big boys play all the time. So I haven't really watched them.
I don't see it working out well for him, and I don't necessarily know if the administration is supporting him and if he's joining at a good time.
Yeah.
And again, people could bash me. That'll bother me. That's okay. But I just don't. I don't see it. And I think someone like Lane would have been better for that. Like someone bigger who could take that job, because I feel like just an X's and O's guy. I don't know if, and you could correct me if you feel, or give your opinion on this. To coach at the Power Five level,
Yeah.
and the big three in the state of Florida,
Yeah.
in my opinion, you can't just be a recruiter, and you can't just be X's and O's. You have to be able to be good to great at both. If you think about the elite coaches out of the big three in all of our histories, you had to be good to great at both. Bobby Bowden, good to great at both. Jimbo Fisher, good to great at both. Okay, look at Miami in our history: Jimmy Johnson, Dennis Erickson, Butch Davis, good to great at both. Urban Meyer, arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time. And if Nick Saban didn't win 10, 12 national championships, he would be. He still has the highest winning percentage in college football history.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
great at both. You have to be, and I feel like when I look at what he's done, some people are just really good at a certain level. Small ball. Okay, Willie Taggart, one of the best Group of Five coaches, whether it was at Western Kentucky or USF. Charlie Strong, one of the better Group of Five coaches, whether it was at USF for a little bit in his first stint or at Louisville. Okay, when they on that smaller scale, some people are just really, really good at that. Okay, that's the only reason why I feel. And again, Coach Napier can go out here and probably do pretty well at Florida, and I don't have to eat my words, and that's fine. I have no problem saying I was wrong. He did a good job. Cool for him. But man, oh man, dude, I feel like that game and in the SEC it's at like melting point, lava hot, hopping in the SEC right now, and already being known as a so-so recruiter, also being known as like the program isn't having the highest investment. I just feel like it could be tough on them. Now, you talk about X's and O's. You talk about making a game plan to attack a defense. Billy Napier is really good at that. I'm just saying at that level, which I would even think is higher than Miami, until Miami shows, yes, we're doing well. We're investing a little bit, but Florida is way ahead of us in facilities and things of that nature. Until we can see it on that football field, I probably should reserve my comments. But hey, whatever, I'm going to say it. I just don't think he's going to do too well if it stays the way it is right now.
So you would think then after what Florida experienced with Dan Mullen, and Dan Mullen can come across as a clown, but to defend the guy, he took over a team that was 4-8. Now they weren't that bad, obviously. They were much more talented than that, but still they were 4-8, and they got better. They went to 3 consecutive New Year's Six games, and then they beat Georgia and win and go to the SEC championship game. And he has one bad year, and he did a lot of dumb things during that year. So he gets fired. And obviously, what was he not known for? What was his downfall? Not recruiting. in addition to doing some dumb things, but basically not recruiting. The guy can scheme as good as anybody on the offensive side of the ball and develop quarterbacks. You would have thought that they would have gone after somebody who's going to go head to head with Kirby Smart and be able to recruit, bring in talent.
Exactly, because that's the thing. You look at Kirby. Kirby is one of the best recruiters out there. Kirby is also arguably the best defensive mind in the game right now. Okay, I mean, Nick Saban had him running his defense for 5 to 7 years. Okay, he can do it. I look at that Florida program. I think it's a prime program. I think they have an amazing home field stadium. I mean, they can be elite when everything is boom, 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 boom. Watch out. They can go. They can go. And I just don't see it right now from him. He goes out there and proves me wrong. Florida fans or whoever else watches, I have George. I have no problem coming on here and saying he proved me wrong. Good for them. Good for them. Just put us on the schedule, but good for you. You know, I have no problem saying that and being respectful to the coach. But as of right now, what he's shown us is that he's not the best recruiter. And some of them can say the same thing about Mario Cristobal inverse. They can say, oh, he's a great motivator, a great recruiter, but when teams get on the field with him, he has to prove to me that he's X's and O's and can win on the football field with in-game adjustments. And I would say, you know what? You're right. I would have no problem respecting that response as to what I had to say. Because you can look at what happened to him in some games and say that. So we'll see.
I'm processing what you're saying about the Florida job, because then I'm looking at Florida State as well, and we know that the state of Florida produces the best football players. Texas is right there, but I'm going to give Florida an edge over Texas, and I think that can be backed up, but it's really close. And I'm looking at Florida's history. And what have we seen with Florida State? Basically, Bobby Bowden coached forever. He built the program. You got to give him a lot of credit for
absolutely.
Much like Howard Schnellenberger, although, of course, Bowden State, they basically took programs that didn't exist, were just rubbish, nothing, and built them into two of the top 3 or 4 programs in the country for a long, long period of time.
Agreed.
And you just laid out what Jimbo has been able to do and what he did at Florida State. But now we've got 2 Florida State coaches that, unless Norvell turns it around in a hurry, have failed. And we've seen a number of Miami coaches fail. And at Florida, is it the program? Like, I'm kind of all over the place here, but Ohio State, basically since the 40s, it doesn't matter who the coach has been. Now, John Cooper wasn't the best. He lost big games, but still, he had several teams finish in the top 5 in the country. Basically, Ohio State's won regardless of who the coach has been. You still got to bring in the right guy. But Florida, I'm just trying to weigh as to whether Florida and Florida State are those programs. I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter who the coach is. Of course, it matters who the coach is, but or just is Spurrier and especially Urban Meyer just that good? And Florida's really not that great of a program. They just elevated it.
I would say this easy answer would be the answer somewhere in the middle. That's what everyone says. But I'm going to go with the latter. I think that Urban Meyer and Coach Spurrier were just that damn good. I mean, they're arguing. I mean, Kirk Spurrier is, a top 30 coach of all time? Probably one of the originators of the spread in the South. And what they were doing, spreading that ball and letting it fly at Florida. They tried the same thing, at South Carolina. They didn't do too well. But at Florida, it was original. It was new. It was edgy. It was cool what he brought to the table at UF. Okay. I also think some of the boosters at UF just won't allow it to be what it could be. Some of those old viewpoints towards certain kinds of people and the way that positions that they can play, and a certain amount of those people on the team compared to the other people. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of crazy stuff in that area of my home state, way up in the North Panhandle. Because like I always say, I'm from Miami. I'm not from Florida. I say that all the time. And people get annoyed at that. And I say, well, because you don't understand. You talk about South Florida from like the Tampa down, it's different. You get into that Orlando, that Gainesville, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, it starts to feel real 1940s-ish.
It's an extension of Georgia and Alabama.
Exactly. And people from that area will probably say the same in inverse about mine. Well, it's a whole bunch of blah, 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 insert foreign or Caribbean country here, and they down talk it in that way also. But I think that is holding them back. Because if you talk about you're in the best football state there is, you're in the best conference there is, you have one of the best home field stadiums there is, why are you not running college football again? Why are you not in the conversation to run college football again? And the answer is, I believe there's certain boosters that's holding that program back, but that's sugarcane money and saying, if you want me to invest, I need boom, boom, boom. And it can't look like boom, boom, boom. And it was the same thing that was happening at Miami. And we got rid of those people. We got those people out of the program. We got those people far away from the decision makers. And now we bring in people that have a progressive and futuristic mindset. That ain't Republican, that ain't Democrat, it's progressive, okay? And we're not associating our program with any party or any kind of crap like that. We're associating our football program with what is done well to win games. That's what's important. And having a great program is you need that. You need
that. First of all, I want to get to the other super chat that I had up there for a minute. So just understand, Alexis, certainly Wholesome One can address whatever he wants, but we covered this ground, so we appreciate you being here. But yeah, just watch the video when it posts, and you'll see that we addressed ACC kickoff and the players and Mario Cristobal and what was stated there. But if Wholesome One has anything else, then certainly.
I don't really have much else to add to it. I mean, like I said, he gave the answers that, to be honest with you, he gave the answers that in your mind, if you could say, what would Mario Cristobal say about this? He gave that answer. It was kind of, until he started talking about X's and O's and Josh Gaddis and Kevin Steele and Charlie Strong, that's when you see the football side of him starting to come out, similar to how I do. If it's just a base conversation, I'll give you a media answer. But once we start talking X's and O's, I get fired up and energetic. And I think that's just the former player in us. And that's usually what happens.
Falconer X. Now, this is a good way to put it right here. The further north you go in Florida, the farther south you go.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple, man. It's weird. It's real, real weird, and it's tough. And you go from like Lamborghinis and Ford Expeditions to like F-150s and tobacco chewing. It's and like I said, I'm not here to say that my way or our way in South Florida is better. It's just what we view is what we do and how we get down and how we treat and talk to each other. Up there, it's a little different. You go on trips to Orlando, you go on trips to Jacksonville, you kind of don't go off certain exits, and you don't go to certain gas stations in certain towns. You just keep on driving.
Oh, that's too bad. Is there a coach in college football, or past or present, that you have a lot of respect for and think does a really nice job that may not get quite the credit or be considered in rankings that people release and thought of and talked about in the same way that you might think that they perform?
Okay. I tell you this much: there's a coach at Kansas State that I'm very, very fond of. Coach Chris Kleiman, good guy, amazing guy, amazing person. He's done very well in taking over that Kansas State program, and I think he's never listed on that list. And I don't know if he'll ever take a big job, and that's cool. I don't necessarily know if Coach Kleiman would want that big of a job. I think K-State is beautiful for him in Manhattan, Kansas, and a really good program. And winning 7, 8 games every year is great, good to great for them. Heck, 9 is like elite. You know, you get in that 9 to 10 range, you're talking about elite. They're going to have a team that's going to play you hard, and he's done it at a bunch of levels, and he's been very successful. And
hopefully we did not lose the wholesome one. I think he's going to recognize here in a second that he's frozen up and probably click out and come back in. In the meantime, a lot of great discussion and comments in the comment section about coaches and ranking coaches, and you know I'm all about that. Falcon Rex, thanks for being here. Yeah. You know what it is, Desmond? It's not that I am starved. I had like bacon this morning, and that's all I've had. And I went and got my mom dinner before I started the live stream that I had before this one. And I was kind of like, I'm really hungry. I should have gotten myself something to eat as well. But anyway, we got the wholesome one back in here. Here we go.
I don't know what happened. My computer shut down, so I just get to talking on my phone here. But yeah, Coach Kleiman is one of those coaches I like. Scott Frost, man, I know he gets a bunch of flack for what's going on with him and Nebraska, but I'm hoping they can pull it together, because I think a bunch of those teams in the Big Ten just kind of had, and he's been there a long time, and his record is not that good. But I root for coaches who go back to their alma mater, mainly because, in my opinion, it really does mean more to them. And then to a certain extent, they may just be overdoing it or over trying, and sometimes it doesn't mesh well. But that might have been the best or the hardest 3-win team. They only won 3 games, right? I mean, they lost every single game by a 1-possession score.
They lost to 4 teams in the top 10, and they were all right there.
So, and it came a long way from watching them lose to Illinois to start the season. That was different, but they're a tough out. I mean, they took Michigan State to the brink. I think Ohio State beat them on a field goal or something, didn't they?
Ohio State put them away with a field goal. They were up 23-17. They kicked a field goal with like a minute left to ice the game, 26-17.
Right. So even then, that's a close one. You know, they were within striking distance. It was a fight. So I really like Coach Scott Frost.
Just to throw something in there, wholesome one. Michigan State, you know, they were finished 7th or 8th in the country. Nebraska lost at Michigan State in overtime. They did not give up a first down in the second half. And the way they lost the game is they had a lead with like 2.5 minutes left in the game. And Nebraska was punting. Michigan State did one of those deals where the punt team faked out everybody and acted like the ball was on the other side of the field, and Michigan State ran it for a touchdown.
Oh, they had 2 punt returners?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'll give you a third one. MarkRogersTV. No, I know he's getting all the love from certain fan bases, whether they love and appreciate him or they think he's overrated. But I think Utah's head coach out there. Don't tell me. Tell me.
Kyle Whittingham. Yeah.
BYU's coach also, fellow Polynesian brother, doing his thing out there. Yeah, they're pretty. And see, the thing, I give respect to coaches that do that, Just like, I was schooled. You may know this handle. His name is Mr. Rubicon. Do you remember him from the chat sometimes?
Yeah.
He schooled me on Chris Peterson. I didn't know anything about no Chris Peterson. I knew he was the guy that got his behind whooped by Nick Saban at Alabama when he was at Washington. That's all I knew about him. It's like, nah, Boise State. It's like, yeah, they're really
Sure.
cool with the fancy uniforms, and they were kind of pre-Oregon. It's like, yeah, he was a coach there at that time. So, oh, okay, gotcha. Rumored to take the SC job forever, but it never worked out. His son had cancer, so he was getting treatment at Washington, and then he ended up just taking over the head coaching job there. So it kind of took off there at UW. But in those kind of places where you're not too close to elite talent in proximity, and you have to really do some coaching to get them to play at such a high level, I have a really high level of respect for that. Because, if Johnny 5-star comes in ready-made, 6'5", 245, running a 4.49, and me as his defensive line coach, I kind of just have to fine-tune some things and keep them focused. It'll be different if I'm the defensive line coach at like a Louisiana Tech, for example, and I'm able to take like a Jalen Ferguson, who just passed away last month, Baltimore Ravens 3rd-round pick edge rusher, who set the record for most sacks in a career at La Tech under the Blake Baker defense in the 4.25. Where you find this guy, he's not highly rated. He's more like 6'2.5", 6'3". He's like 235, but you taught him, you helped him, he's grown, you've built him on and off the field, and now he's out here with all the national success. So people who are able to do that kind of stuff, I have a really, really high level of respect for.
You know who I thought of when you brought up Kalani Sitake, the BYU coach, is his predecessor at BYU, Bronco Mendenhall. I think Bronco Mendenhall is a really good coach.
Do you?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
I've always wondered, why does he get, like, he's one of those guys that I'm like, yeah, but he just gets all this love and appreciation. And I'm like, all right, Dino Babers at Syracuse is another coach I really like and appreciate.
Oh, I did. Now, see, Dino Babers, now he's not getting the job done. But man, to listen to that guy talk and to watch how he conducts himself, I've got all the respect in the world for him. Seems like a first-class guy, solid. I just don't know. Maybe he's not in the best situation. It's a difficult place to recruit to and all that. I was going to bring up Bronco Mendenhall because I came across. So Bronco Mendenhall, listen to his run at BYU. Like, I'll just take the really, after going 6-6 the first year at BYU, 11-2 top 15, 11-2 top 15, 10-3 top 25, 11-2 number 12, 7-6, 10-3 top 25. 8-5, 8-5, 8-5, 9-4, and then he went to Virginia. He went 99-43 at BYU. He finished in the top 15 in the country 4 times. He had a really good run at BYU. Then he goes.
I was about to say that's pretty damn good. Yeah, that's good. What about at UVA? What's been his record at UVA?
I'm sorry, what?
What's been his record at UVA?
Oh, 36-38. They were bad when he took them over.
So my question is, as much as you've been, and I know you want to go eat. I don't want to be an ass, but I know you want to go eat. But what's your take on college coaches leaving the Group of 5 for the Power 5? Are you always kind of nervous? Is it kind of a case by case, or do you say, hey, I'd much rather these guys take their chance, shoot their shot at the highest level, and see what happens? What's usually your take on that?
Well, I think by nature, coaches are competitors. They're the ultimate competitors. They're athletes that now coach. And so the thing that drives those guys is to prove that they're the best and try to match their skills, their wits, their abilities against the best. And so you want to prove yourself on the biggest stage against the best. And I think that's typically what fuels those guys, is why most of them climb the ladder and keep climbing until they can't climb no more, or they get knocked down. Bronco Mendenhall, though, he's a different dude, though. He's just a different dude. So I watch very few coaches' news conferences, and I mentioned this to somebody the other day. I watched Dan Lanning's his introductory news conference at Oregon. I watched Mario Cristobal's at Miami, and even though I do this, and you would assume maybe I shouldn't let this out, that I should probably watch all of them. I usually am not that impressed, and not that I'm not impressed, but you hear the same things. You hear all the typical jargon about building, great student athletes. But I watched Bronco Mendenhall's last news conference at Virginia because he decided to leave Virginia. He didn't get fired. He's just a well-grounded guy, and I already knew this about him. And he basically just decided, he and his wife, coaching's a grind. I'm going to step away and just live my life and invest my time in a lot of charities and all that kind of stuff. He's just a well-rounded guy. Now, I saw a headline on ESPN.com the other day, and I didn't read the article. It might have been behind their paywall. But anyway, I didn't read. But it gave indication. It was about Bronco Mendenhall. It was on their college football front page. That gave, just the way the headline read, it sounded like he's kind of ready to get back into it. So that's what it sounded like.
I hope so, man. I think, his UVA teams weren't always, they're tough out. There's times where he's went into Death Valley, Clemson, and took him to the brink with UVA talent. What he's done with that quarterback was pretty big time. His last two quarterbacks, Arm Weak, his name's Armstrong, but I call him Arm Weak just because I don't think he has the biggest arm. No. And the brother before him, the brother with the locks before him, that they played Florida in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
I think he's gone to. That's why I'm not saying that he's not. I don't think he's bad. It's just he's always on that list of coaches that ESPN likes to promote, and I just didn't see any where is this coming from out of it. But I didn't know he had that extensive well run at BYU. That would explain why they are obsessed with him. They bring him up all the time. Who's the next big this? Next big Bronco Mendenhall. So I'm like, is it because he's good, or is it because he has a name like Bronco and people get all excited about that?
If you look at, you brought up Chris Kleiman, and I know you got a connection there. I don't think from a historical standpoint, Bill Snyder gets the love that he deserves. If you look at Kansas State throughout its history, it's unbelievable how bad they, if you go through the 60s and the 70s, every year they're going 1-10, 3-8, 1-10, 4-7, 3-8, 3-8, 3-8, 2-9. It's awful. Every year it's like that. So right before he got there, they're going 1-10, 2-9, 0-10, 0-11, 1-10. Those are their records right before he started. 1-10, 2-9, 0-10, 0-11, 1-10. He takes over, takes him 2 years. They're 7-4. Then, 9-2, 9-3, 10-2, 9-3, 11-1, 11-2, 11-1, 11-3.
Jeez.
Playing in Big 12 championship games, Fiesta Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Holiday Bowl.
Is he winning any of those?
Let's see. What did they do in these bowl games? I remember them.
That was his second stint there, right? Didn't he? He was
well,
there
then, yeah, then he stepped away. Right. Well, this kind of proves his greatness too. He stepped away, and Ron Prince went 5-6 and 5-7. He was only there and then Snyder comes back, and he didn't have as good a run the second time as he did the first time, but still, 7-6, 10-3, 11-2, 8-5, 9-4, 6-7, 9-4, 8-5. But yeah, his glory days, what did they do in their, they went like, okay, during their best years, they beat Arizona State in the Holiday Bowl. Then they lost to Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. And that Ohio State team was serious, like top 3 in the country. They lost to Rutgers in the Texas Bowl. That's interesting. They lost to Syracuse in the Pinstripe Bowl. They lost to Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl. They lost to Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. They beat Michigan in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. They lost to UCLA in the Alamo Bowl. Lost to Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. Beat Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl. Beat UCLA in the Cactus Bowl. That was his last bowl game.
I bet. So what are you gonna have to eat?
Spaghetti. Gonna make some spaghetti.
Are you on the road or are you cleaning the house? What's going on?
No, I'm at my new place.
Oh wow.
My new place in the Buckeye State.
Oh no.
Yeah, I moved.
That's cool though, man. Good for you.
Yeah, got a lot to set up here. Got a lot of things to work on here.
That's what's up, man. That's in the Buckeye State. Because you were in Connecticut before, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you're going to be doing Ohio State home games or what?
No. I'm the voice of college football. I got to be watching everybody.
I feel you.
Nope. No.
Well, I'll let you go ahead and eat. What a great show. Thank you all so much.
I appreciate it. Again, we got pizza, no cheese. We appreciate all these questions and super chats, but understand, we went extensive on this the last couple of weeks. So pizza, no cheese, appreciate you, but we're not going to restate everything we did there. The Wholesome One and myself, we went full throttle on the SEC versus the Big Ten, what the pros and cons are for Miami, all of that.
But to answer your question, I will say for me, I'm a Big Ten. I think it would be great for the University of Miami to stand out and be different and go and be like the flagship Florida program out of Miami. And then that also is a hand in hand with the Big Ten, because now those kind of teams can come up and can come down and recruit Miami, just to juxtapose or recruit Florida. Now, Miami would have a footprint and go be in battles with guys on the offensive line from Iowa, guys on the offensive line from Wisconsin, get into an Ohio market. Then now both those two areas can get into the California market with the LA teams joining the Big Ten and being able to be out there and be in good recruiting battles with the elite talent. So I think that would be a great thing for Miami to do, is join the Big Ten.
Wholesome One, have you ever contemplated what, and I'm sure we did when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, what Miami's schedule could look like in the Big Ten? Now, obviously, anytime you bring up a really good conference, everybody lines up all the good teams. Well, you're not going to play everybody.
Right.
But let's say it's the first season, Miami plays a game out at USC, and they host Ohio State, and they go to Happy Valley, and they play Penn State, and they got a game against Wisconsin, and they play 4 or 5 of those.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah, it would be
laptop.
Fun to watch.
You heard me?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I thought I heard you.
Did it black out?
Yeah.
Is it doubling?
I'm just trying to figure out which one I should keep.
Hey,
there you are.
Double angles.
There we go.
Oh man, that's funny. All right, I just want to get back on my lap. Oh, I got it. My bad, y'all. I apologize. Sorry.
But yeah, that schedule would be fun.
Heck yeah! I mean, like I said, not only that, you're able to get into because I don't think the Big Ten is done. But you get a game in Los Angeles, and you have Rutgers. We get to play one of our former assistant coaches in Greg Schiano. And again, like I said, they're going to test us on the football field, X's and O's wise too. Not just line up and blow you off the ball, but you're going to have a really good game plan to beat some of those teams. Your Iowas, your Wisconsins, your Rutgers. Not just going to line up and whoop their butt. You're going to have to know what you're doing.
So I forgot, I had this up there for a long, long time. So our guy, Tim, our USC fan, I hope he's still here. Tim, you still here? So Tim and the guys, they've got, Tim, you still with us here? So they've got a little after hour show, or they open up a link every so often and do a little chat on there. And so you've got the invite there for some night. And so
cool. Tim, best thing you could do is to hit me up on Twitter at Holloway_52. And that's for any of you all who have questions or want us to address certain things on shows or live shows. I'm always active on my Twitter, and hit me up while you can, because in a couple of weeks when camp starts, I won't be as active. I'll still have the green, but I'm swapping out one of the other colors, and I got to get focused on that. So I'll still be able to do my shows because it'll be evening times, but my mornings and afternoons will be completely locked up and focused for that. So
absolutely,
yeah, do that, buddy.
All right,
I'm gonna go hit the gym because I had a cheat day today, so I got to go burn it all off.
All right, Wholesome One. Everybody, get on over there. Right here on YouTube, Wholesome One Holloway. There he is.